The typical slip-ups are the fact that we don't do enough planning and forecasting. We don't do enough collaborating with clinical operations to go ahead and find out what their issues are. They don't actually spend enough time with us to understand what our challenges are. So what winds up happening is you wind up in sometimes a contentious or adversarial relationship with your clinical operations group. And what should actually be occurring is that you should actually be partners. So in order to overcome that relationship sometimes, as dysfunctional as it may be, we have a tendency to actually do a lot more overage because we don't talk as much as we should. We don't know what the needs or the demands are. We haven't forecasted well enough. So what winds up happening is we have to cover ourselves because we don't ever want to have a stock out. We don't ever want to have a patient show up at a clinical site and not have drug there to start. And for that reason, we will go ahead and we will actually do overages that are, in many cases, pretty impressive. I've seen companies roll from 25% almost up to 100% in overage. If you can get down to 25%, that's not bad, but I've actually seen some companies with the right planning and forecasting tools in place and collaborative environments with clinical operations drop it down to about 10%. And that's the savings on that is amazing, as well as the time savings because you don't have to source as much and you have the ability to actually work with your supplies and your expiry dates with those. So those are some good things. Communication, collaboration, planning, forecasting, get the right tools, train your people, work with clinical operations, that's easy.
Yeah, Internet of Things has a lot of potential to reduce overage and costs. Perhaps thinking about the situation when the drug is arrival at the clinical site. And you have to wait before temperature data are available. You have to quarantine the drug for a certain time. All these that you have not the drug available at this moment, and this on hundreds, thousands of sites, and very often this causes a new demand, more demand, and you have to increase the overage. That's just one example that by introducing technology, you can avoid these quarantine times and therefore reduce overage. Just one example for this.
It's one of those things that as supply chain people, we kind of end up taking for granted a little bit, but to actually have site pharmacists here, to hear that perspective, to sort of, shake us up, like get us into shape on some of those things that would just make their lives easier. That was really very impactful for me, I think. So that's probably my highlight from today.
Maybe I liked the opportunity that we have about networking and the opportunity that we have to discuss about other colleagues, other company, about what they are doing when we speak about clinical trial supplies.